Hey guys, this will be video 6 for the how to design build the 50s era custom Explorer replica. And I've got a ton of ground to cover, but I'm going to try to keep it kind of light and casual in conversation. But I will get fairly technical from time to time because we're getting ready to start moving into the design and layout stage where everything's going to start getting really critical. And I had mentioned in one of the early videos, I'm just going to build this template so it's kind of universal. But the more I thought about that is I think that would be a mistake with this particular build since we're working with such extremely valuable wood. Go ahead and I suggest going ahead and completely building the guitar on plywood, not connecting the neck, but I mean like the layout. In other words, what I did, I bar none engineered the location of this front pickup and this back pickup based on my 24 and 3/4 inch scale. Because see, I had mentioned you might be going with a 24.562 because if you go with a fretboard from Stewart McDonald, they don't make the 24.75. You have to cut that yourself. Okay, and so if you go with the 24.562, that's going to change everything ever so slightly. If you go with the 25 or up to a 25 and a half, that's going to change it even more. So what I did was, since I knew I was going with a 24.75, I engineered everything from the 16th fret location and assessed it in relation. Get behind the camera. Where's my pointer? I need a pointer. I'll try to use this. Let me get behind the cameras. I don't know if it's going to show up. Okay, see, there's a line in the back here, and that pencil line is drawn on a bit of an angle. That was the original layout from the drawings. That was when I made this plywood template. I went in and I punched through every single point you could think of that's a punch through, like all these screw locations, but very much specifically the bridge locations, and then the tailpiece anchor locations, all of the potentiometer locations. And in case I forget, those are perfect. Those don't need to change. But these two locations right here were slightly inaccurate because the designer had drawn this. It's closer to a 25-inch scale. And but he did clarify in the upper right hand corner that, hey, this is just for estimation purposes, but it's very close. It'll give you a good point to work from. I think he did a phenomenal job, but be careful about just going, oh, okay, well, that's where I'm supposed to drill that hole. And you take and you punch a location right there. And let me pause briefly and get a drink of water. Okay, sorry about that. So, then you take your paper and you just punch through there, only to realize that see, it's about close to 1/8 of an inch different, which is that's enough to be serious. So, in other words, when I did my locations, if I had have just drilled per what I punched through, I would have been off a little bit. And you'll see it in a little while. I'm going to pull this off. I could have already pulled this off because I'm getting ready to do another operation, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to show you how you can take a Les Paul template from Stewart McDonald, and based on your scale that you elect, just remember, you're working from the 16th fret location on the Les Paul. If you were building a Tele, a Strat, they also are from the 16th fret location. So you could use this template right here to build any guitar, any custom guitar. And I'm gonna stop because I don't want to start going off on a tangent there. But I had to make certain that I didn't just throw this template up on here and align these bridge location holes over what he had drawn, or run the risk of just going, well, there's the 16th, and then I just throw the template on there based on the 16th, and then start running the router, because I did not. What I did was I engineered my scale, and then I offset. It may show, just look for the two ghost lines right there. You can see where one of them is the 19th fret score line on the back of this template, and one of them is the black pencil line for the 19th fret location. So you can see that I moved my pickup down ever so slightly in order to make certain that I got a really good fit later on. And uh, this video is not for entertainment purposes. I'll tell you that. And if you're here for entertainment, you're going to be bored out of your mind. But let's say that's the end of the fretboard, and let's say that last fret location was the 22nd fret. Well, then you want to make certain that you don't just this is hard to do because the way this can, you want to make certain that this pickup location is not flushed with the end of that fretboard. It needs to be offset just a very small amount. And I'm going to stop talking about that because without really good lighting and without really good camera work, it'll just start getting kind of boring and redundant. But I had to make certain that I engineered all this stuff on plywood. That's what I meant. You know what, if I wanted to be sitting there hovering over a $350, $400 piece of beautiful Korina, and then I'm engineering some of these things, and then I get a phone call or a text, and I lose my focus, and then I screw up that location. It's not that big of a deal. Well, it is according to how bad the screw up is, but this is probably some of the reason that Gibson designed, that in the way they did. You got a lot of room to hide a lot of sins in there. So if you miss the target a little bit, it's not really the end of the world. But you might be building a guitar where you're hard mounting the pickup rings, and you want all this to be real clean and pretty. So, and I might install those again in a little while, and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. But anyway, I guess all I wanted to cover was to let you know that, hey, you can use these templates. I could use this template right here to build a super strat. Okay, but I'd be changing my scale, and I'd be going through different taping and temporary gluing options, as maybe I put this up here and just route that one first, then break the template loose, and then move this pickup down because I'm a 25.5-inch scale. That's critical. You couldn't route that right there and then put the 25.5-inch scale, Floyd Rose or something back here. Your pickup would be 7/8 of an inch away from your target. It'd be wrong. But again, if you're, I'm gonna stop because there's just a ton of different avenues you can take. So I say all that to say this. I just wanted to take advantage of going ahead and taking this piece of plywood and building this guitar on plywood first, engineered through every bit of this stuff, so that once the Korina is on the table, I can lay this up on the Korina, and I can do some real gentle pencil lines, and then take this off, and then pull out my scale, completely independent from every bit of this stuff. I get this stuff off the table so I don't get distracted, because I might have made a mistake here. And the whole idea about a mistake is, well, you don't realize it's a mistake until it's too late. So what I'm saying is, I'm going to build this plywood template, set it over the side, and then when I've got the Korina laying on the table, I'm going to pull out my Tundra Man fretboard calculator. I'm going to pull out my scale charts that I've got here. The scale comparatives, there's a 24.562, 24.75, 25, 25.5, and there's a 34-inch bass. So I can start out with these numbers. Let's say I want to know where the 16th fret location is for a 25.5-inch scale. Well, from the nut, the beginning of the fretboard, or the end of the nut, or the edge of the nut, where they join, up to the 16th fret, is 390.415 millimeter. If it's a 24.75 inch scale, it's 378.932. That's considerable. We're talking 12, almost 12 millimeter difference. And if you go with a 24.562, it's 376 versus 390. So you see what I'm saying? Those scales are, that's the heart of the guitar. And you miss that and you'll never get it to intonate properly. Okay. So, but then once I do my design work on the Korina body, and then I don't touch that template, and I do kind of do some of my pencil marks to see if I'm truly engineering the guitar. Then I'm going to lay this piece of plywood template up there on that Korina and ask myself, is it falling perfectly in line? And if it is, that lets me know that I got my plywood template correct, and I just engineered it 2 days later correct. They're identical. Now, just to be safe, I'm going to measure it one more time and to make certain that I'm not really deceiving myself about something, and then I'll be ready to pull the trigger on the router and feel really confident about, yeah, this is the guitar. It really is. And I'm not saying that I don't trust myself, but I'm just telling you, don't give yourself too much of the benefit of the doubt, because I'd rather keep my ego in check and not make mistakes than the other. So let me pause and kind of collect myself, because as usual that I went a little bit deep on the front end there. But if anything, it's probably good, it's for a worthy cause, as I say, because now we can put that behind us and move with the rest of the video. Okay, yeah, let's talk about the template and this initial template a little bit more before I pull it off of the body. What would be the order of operations once you really know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're in perfectly on center and you're ready? You know that you're ready to pull the trigger on the tools to route that out. You could just drill one hole through the top and just start routing it. Or if you're really good with your router, you just clamp this on a table and you just start routing the whole thing out. Which I would kind of recommend doing that, because if you're not familiar with a router, I'm sorry about that. Don't come up here and mass out all of this wood only to that be the first time you've ever used a router, because it'd be a great opportunity to get a feel for how the router pulls if you go in at a certain angle or a certain direction and things like that. So work your way to the finish line with very shallow passes, and just make sure that your bearing is making contact, because if not, you'll eat up your bit. But I mean, you'll eat up your template. But the things that I did, taking advantage of this template, were the first thing I did was I took my 1/8 inch bit and I came down here, and it's a little bit loose, in that. But the cool thing is once you pull the trigger on the drill press and you drill through that, it's fairly tight. And I'll show this. Here's another incredible use for your bamboo skewers. So you got the pointed end right there. Perfect alignment. And you could obviously cut that off or however you want to do it. And look how snug it is. Perfect for 1/8 inch. So when you're getting ready to if you were getting ready to do some additional machine work, you could do these 4 locations first. Sometimes I only do these 2 locations because I'm undecided about whether I'm even going to put a tailpiece on it. Because see, someone might want to do a wraparound. And if you did this machine work here, let me back up. Let me stop trying to present this video to teach you how to build guitars to sell. We're just building a guitar for yourself. You've already made that decision, and you probably should have already bought that bridge so that you know exactly what the distance is from here to here and things like that, or the height of it and all that jazz. So, or whether it's an American Imperial, or which this is, or whether it's a metric. But I say all that to say this: at least drill these 2 locations if you're not going to do a Floyd Rose, and then go from there. But the whole operation before I tore this template off was to drill those 4 locations And then I took my Forstner bit and I routed out the I drilled out the mass. And I took my jigsaw with my Bosch favorite little T144D, and I cut out, and I left, maybe a quarter of an inch in there. I'll be able to get this stuff off the table pretty soon. And then I just took it over to my router table with obviously not this bit, but that identical configuration where the bearing is on the top, and it literally took me. I'm not exaggerating, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, and you want to cut in this fashion. You're not moving the table, but you're pushing the template, this way, and then and if there's a mass of wood there, just kind of ease around the corner and flatten it off so you don't risk catching on something. In other words, don't let the bearing make contact until you've kind of roughed it out a little bit more, and then all of a sudden let the bearing just go ahead and make contact and make like two real sweet passes. That's a pushing cut or a cutting cut. See the bearing, the router bit is turning this way. I don't know if you can see that turning. It's turning counterclockwise viewed from the front. This would be a climbing cut if you move the piece in that direction. That's a climbing cut. It's very dangerous because it'll grab, okay? But sometimes if you want to do extremely precise cutting, you can do a climbing cut. But again, on a table, and I know that's very rudimentary because most of you guys have watched a video like this, and you're probably better with a router than I am, because it's kind of funny. I've made this statement before. Most people wouldn't believe it, but I hate using a router. I hate it, and you gotta really enjoy routing to build a guitar, and I don't. I hate it. I hate the router. I hate everything about the router, other than what it will do for me. So, all right, now I'm going to pause, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this template off, because the next thing that I'll be doing is drilling these locations over here. So the template has served its purpose, and well, I'll just do it on camera. Let me get this off to kind of give you an idea of how little it took to, it's just one little drop right there. If you're having a little trouble, just push into it. Don't do too much prying. But then when you get to this point, you probably, you just work it like that, and she'll come right out. And I'll clean this up in a minute. That drives me crazy to leave stuff like that, but I'll deal with it later. But nonetheless, the next move will be, see, I've got a little, let me check the camera. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a neighbor's dog barking. I thought the camera was leaking or something. The next move will be, I do want to get this off because I just don't want it risking getting on the other template, or either I forget and it causes the template to get off a little bit. Okay, so we see that we've got an Explorer replica coming together. The next move will be, I would recommend probably stopping at that point, because what did I do? Let me back up and not contradict myself. I definitely recommend going ahead and drilling these three locations right here. And if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you truly are going to do this configuration, which I'm about 99% certain I am going to be doing this, then you could go, if you wanted to. No, I take that back. That's too much routing, because you don't want to take out too much material. You might come down, you definitely could come down here and drill a 1/2 inch hole. See, that's a 3/8. Your Switchcraft 3-way will be a 1/2 inch, and these three locations up here will be 3/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to do with this template, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm definitely going to go ahead and drill the 1/2 inch hole, and then I'm going to drill these three right here. So let me pause. I'll go pull the trigger on the tools, and then when I come back, that'll be done. Okay, let's pick back up. One thing I failed to mention about how I like to use a Forstner bit on the drill press Rather than wasting too much time trying to find the crosshair in the center, just use the actual brad point. Imagine this is your drill press and it's hanging down. Just let's say you were going to drill whatever location you're going to. Well, these three locations here. You've taken your little pick tool or a small nail and you've made a very small indentation. Don't go too deep because if you go too deep, you'll run the risk of getting off. You really only want to punch it with. Oh, it is on the table. This is my favorite one. The reason I bring these up is because if you use a nail, they don't have a perfectly pointed in. They have the square head. So basically, what you would do is just kiss the location that you know that you want. Then go over to your drill press, and this is hanging down. But just make certain that it's not really far away from your location. Go ahead and get your drill press table very close so that you can just slide this up under there and then lift up and kiss the let's see, how are you doing this? Okay, yeah, obviously the drill press is holding this, so I don't have to hold this anymore. But then I hold it with my left hand and I come in and I find that location, I let it kiss it. Then my right hand is free. I take the drill press and I just push the whole thing down to the deck, and then as I'm holding it with my right hand, I'm holding it like there with my right hand down, and then I reach up and turn it on. Okay, and then I'm not pressing too much, but then I reach down. I don't even have this clamped. I don't have to because I've got enough pressure on this to go ahead. And as soon as the tool comes on, as soon as the drill press comes on, I go ahead and start pulling down. And as I'm beginning to pull down, this might start moving a little bit. But if you were wise, you would have already had that close to the shaft, and then pull on through. So that was kind of silly and rudimentary for some of you guys, but for someone who's never really used a drill press, that'll save you a lot of time and a lot of effort. You got to make certain that you have a sacrificial board on the back that is fresh, hadn't been drilled through, because this is your template. You don't want to tear it up. You want it to be really attractive, and for just yourself as well. But anyway, one thing. So we talked about that enough. Let's move forward. One thing I failed to mention, and this would be a great way to segue into this. This is what I like about Stuart McDonald. This is a P90 template configuration. Let's see. Yeah, it should have been like this, but what I was going to say, I showed you the other bit. If you were going to route it from overhead, and with a handheld router, this was the type of bit you'd be using. You'd start out with the small one to do shallow passes, and then you could finish up. And that's usually what I use. Yeah, that's always what I use when I'm doing the cavities. So. But the reason I wanted to put this on the table is to show you what an awesome little thing this is. Stuart McDonald template. And then what you do, make certain it's on the center line. Okay. And you take your pencil and draw out that. You might think, well, what is that? That's a P90. That's a P90 conversion. So if you were building a Les Paul, a Junior, okay, see where I'm going with this? Or you're building an Explorer and you wanted to put P90s in it, I think I paid $60 for this template. That's a great deal, considering that all I had to do is piggyback off the 59 burst template, and then just lined up with these two right here. And it's really interesting. I don't really understand why, but they did not drill the bridge locations. So just keep that in mind. And you see that location right there. What does that tell you? That tells you just how consistent the templates are based on going from the 59 humbucker over to the 55 P90, because that's the beginning of the pickup cavity for both pickups. And then you can see this one is considerably closer because it doesn't have all the pickup ring and all that jazz. So it keeps falling down a little bit. But and then all you would have to do is have a little bit of put your masking tape here, your masker tape there, jet glue it, and then when you put these bamboo skewers through, you just snip them off and make certain that they're flush. And I usually go ahead and put some tape back here, maybe a little bit, but I don't worry too much about it because I know that's not going anywhere. And then you can freehand route that. Okay. So trust your templates, and if you do, you'll end up with a very professional job. And this is what I meant by it's going to be so comforting now to just lay this atop the the Korina, and at a minimum, obviously, I'll come in and I'll draw the pencils, and then I'll take it off and I'll look at it, make sure everything's exactly like it was, and the odds are this is not going to move from here on out, so should be fine. It's really beautiful. It's very graceful, and it's when I first opened it up, when I was looking at when the drawings was coming off the printer, I was thinking this is just way too much guitar. It's just way too much. But after I built this and I did I've got the neck gluing in I don't want to pull it up, not the neck, but the other little neck jig that I made for my profile. I did a little bit of epoxy work as I'm changing some stuff, but I put that neck on there and I clamped it, and I did not the strap test, but I just hung it on my body, and I put my knee up on a bar stool and asked myself, did I like what I feel? And I got to tell you, it feels incredible. Everything about the distance from here to here, the way it feels to your body to stand there and play it. This is big, and there's a part of me that's like, man, it'd be cool if somebody just took the chance to do the Fender Stratocaster bevel. I think that would be an incredible move, but you can't because it's already so thin. If you started beveling, it would end up being, chintzy out on the end. So neither here nor there. It feels good. It's beautiful. Everything about these straight lines are very, very sexy. Very cool. So let me check the time, and definitely let me pause and get organized again, and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking about the fretboard just because it's here. Well, look at me, I got it wet. I was just drank some water and I got it wet. 24 3/4 inch scale, we know that. And I apologize if I mentioned this at the front of the video. I think I probably did. So therefore, I'm not going to spend much time with it. You have to custom cut this 24 3/4 inch scale. If you order your fretboard from Stuart McDonald, you can get a 24.562 inch scale, or you could get a 25 inch scale, which is called the Dobro scale. But a little trivia for you, that's also what the Paul Reed Smith is. And is a 25 inch scale nice? Would it be nice on this guitar? Absolutely. I got a Penguin replica that I built, and that was based on my 56 Silverjet, 1956 Gretsch Silverjet that I owned. And rather than going with the real short scale, I put a 25 inch scale on. I love it. Plays so good. It sounds incredible. So I say that to say this: if you don't feel like building your own fretboard, just order your fretboard from Stuart McDonald and get like a 25 inch scale. Just be careful with the 24.562. It's a little short, but go with that off the shelf, and you'll be much closer to your finish line. The reason I want to show this is just because briefly, you got a couple options to do the radius work, and I'm only going to show it. I'm not even really going to talk about it, but that's one way you could do it. That's a 12 inch radius, and you see how nice and clean that is. I don't want to use it. I'm kind of scared because I've got a really nice way by which I do this by hand. I'm not going to show it in this video because I just want to show this because the last video I did, this is going on the Gold Sparkle Flying V. But so if you guys are hanging around after watching that video from, hey, here's how you do the fretboard for the Gold Sparkle V. Well, the mother of pearl dried overnight, and then that's make sure I don't misspeak. Yeah, that's 220. It's 220 grit, very clean. Uh, I don't think it'll be noisy, but this is what I did. And that's it. Now, the next move I would make is vacuum it. I wouldn't use compressed air, and I'm not going to touch this because I don't want to touch it. But basically, I'm perfectly flush now. I still got a little bit of a dip right there. It's awesome, but I'm flush up here. And if you guys aren't familiar with what we're talking about, that's between me and the guys that suffered through 35 minutes of me talking about how to put mother of pearl inlay in. And I tell you what I will do. Let me just hit it a little bit with my dust brush, but I do not dare want to. All I'm doing is just going across it like this. I don't want to. I don't want to start wiping on it, trying to clean it just to impress anybody. But you can already see how quickly the mother of pearl comes alive. And that's with 220. Wait till I wet sand this with an 800 grit paper. It's called Abranet that we used down in South Florida when I was restoring my boat down there. The guys that do yacht finish work really showed me the type sandpapers they use to finish. We're talking multi-million dollar yachts, and I learned how to work with that type paper. 800 grit, 1200 grit, 1600 grit, and you come in with a little bit of Dawn dishwashing detergent in water, and it's kind of soapy, and that keeps it cool. And you could wet sand this by hand, and these will just start glowing. But really beautiful. I'm very happy with that. So again, this is the fretboard going on the Flying V, but it's virtually identical to that's basically identical to what's going to be going on the Explorer here. Okay, and that is a 24 3/4 scale. Let me pause again and collect myself. Try to get this table cleaned off a little bit, and I got to get a drink of water and clear my throat, and then we'll finish out the video. Okay, one thing I didn't talk about enough a little while ago was the whole reason for doing your templates is to verify that everything is going to fit well once you get to your really nice finished wood. And where I'm going to go with this is also it will kind of give us an idea of what the guitar is going to look like. Not that we've never seen one before. That is, if you were to do an open pickup, I would not recommend that. I would recommend the silver cover. But hey, no, it's not my guitar, so to each his own there. But the reason I like doing this, I want to see what sort of movement I've got, and what I'm looking at when I'm really thinking about this. I'm just looking at this center line in relation to the center of these two pole pieces. Got excellent movement there. I've got plenty of movement there, so I'm in great shape up there. And these are both Seymour Duncan. And what's really strange is, for some reason, and I've checked the template's okay. This one's always a little bit tighter back there. Now it's perfectly centered, but I think what I'm going to do with my template, I'm going to open it up a little bit and make it just not much, but just a little bit wider, because you need a little bit more play than, I'm sorry, I should be showing it up here. That's just not enough in my opinion. You're fine there. And what is it? Is it my template? No, it's this pickup. I measured from the outside edge of the little legs, and this pickup is slightly wider than that one. So, and it's not a trim buck. I don't think it's a trim bucker. No, surely it's not. It's not a trim. No, it's not, because I've got this for my other guitar. Anyway, just kind of keep that in mind. I should have done a little more research. When you're building your guitar, you're always running into little things like that. So I say that to say this. Isn't it nice to know that you can come up here on this template with a file if you have to and carve that baby down so that when you put it up on your nice wood, you machine it once and it fits. You're not atop your really nice finished guitar trying to fit that, or you send it to someone that is really impatient and then they're putting the pickups in for you and they're mad at me because the builder, I didn't do a good job routing the pickups, and then they pull out a screwdriver or something crazy and do some crazy damage, and you never even know it because they put the pickup in there. You know, they know that once you get that baby home, you're not going to pull the strings off and pull the pickup out. See where I'm going with this? So make certain that you as a builder or for your own self that you do a good job. The last thing I would say, and the reason this template is up here, I don't recommend going this route. Let's take advantage of our bamboo, and you'll see my reasoning in a moment. There's the other piece. Okay. So when you order the Stuart McDonald template set for the Les Paul, you get, if you buy the body set, you get these two templates, and you also get some of the other stuff that I'm not going to start talking about. You get more than just these two pieces, okay? Just do your own research for right now. But the whole idea of the Les Paul is now to be able to route this tenon. I do not recommend routing this tenon before this pickup cavity is finished, because if you were to go ahead and just did some initial routing up on the neck pickup, and then you went ahead and cut the tenon, and then you realized you needed to do some more routing in the pickup cavity, well, you don't have a surface back here to catch your, I don't have the bit, they're already off the table. But in other words, I say that to say this. Now, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself because what I'm about to do with this template is totally different. I'm going to come up here now this is not how I'm going to build this guitar. I'm going to be building, okay, exactly what you just saw. That is exactly how this guitar that I'm building is going to be built. It's going to be virtually identical to the Les Paul. It is. It's going to be identical to the Les Paul, but it's not going to have this crazy ass stuff going on back here. I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. And that makes no sense to me at all, because everything that got cut out back here only was detrimental to the tone of the body. And it ran the risk of this body warping, because the more material you start taking out the middle, and then you've got this huge route over here. According to how that board grew in the wild, and according to where the growth rings are, don't be surprised if that body tried to start, tipping. So we're not doing that, and I'm glad I got to talk about that a little bit. But we're basically going to be doing this right here, identical. But on my template, I'm going to do this. And this is just for my own personal, and I don't know if that's perfectly centered, but I'm going to hold this off. It's going to be a little bit more than that. And I'll explain this in a second. Just bear with me, if you will, please. I'm going to leave about a ½ inch. This is really important. And I apologize for the idiocy, but just bear with me, because you'll see my point in a second. Let me just put a clamp on this, because I will come unglued if it slips again. Quick grip. Been using these forever. Love these little things. So fast. Keep you from making a fool out of yourself when you're doing a video series for the whole world, trying to build a guitar. Okay. I'm going to take my template and I'm going to go ahead and route this out, but only up to that point right there. I'm going to leave about a ½ inch in there, because my theory is if I ever build this guitar again for myself, I'm not even going to take the tenon all the way up in the body. I'm going to stop the tenon back here. That's called a short tenon. Okay? And the question would, well, but then that's not an authentic Gibson, blah, 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 and the tone's going to be different. I call BS on that because to me, I think it's far more important that that wood stayed in there, keeping the body connected, guaranteeing you don't run the risk of warpage up here. And is this guitar that I'm building going to be subject under that? Zero chance. There's zero chance that the guitar that I build is going to be potential warping. But I wouldn't guarantee that if you started routing back into all this, and especially if you went too deep. But I'm going to cut this out for my own personal tidbit, but I'm going to stop about right here. And then that will allow me, if I do build another one of these, I'm going to do my tenon that way. And I'm going to stop my tenon up in here. And then on this one template, I'll have everything I need to uh, lay this plywood template atop a large piece of poplar or a large piece of Honduran mahogany, and put some tape and jet glue down, and do the whole guitar in one operation with one template that you don't run the risk of picking up another template and putting up here and running the risk of it getting off a 32nd. That would make for very fast production work. And anyway, so just kind of keep that in mind. If that makes sense, there'll be a 1 1/2 inch tenon, traditional Gibson-esque product. I don't know who else might do that. I think Gretsch is probably doing that now as well, because I know they don't do dovetail anymore. But that little bit of wood will remain in there. And what will that do? That will, leaving that wood in there, it will allow your router bit to have something to write against. And then the whole idea of like your router base, well, you know, it's kind of floating. As your router base is running around here, it doesn't take much to keep that router from tipping. If you had just a small amount there, and that's what I meant by relieving that hole. Just imagine looking at the pickup, okay, in that plane. It's going to kind of look like it's probably going to look more like the P90 that I showed you in that P90 template. And then where I will run it a little bit long out here, so that even though when the bit comes out here and it rounds over, I would by then have already exited the body up under there. Okay, see, the body up under here is probably going to stop back here, but with my design and this template here, I might elect to build one of these with a Leo fender pocket so that you can do a bolt on. And now I've got this tenon, but rather than doing the traditional fender neck, I would have like a hybrid tenon, like lower partial tenon and then an upper Leo fender. It's hard to explain. It's an idea that I came up with a long time ago, where it guarantees that the Leo fender neck doesn't slip around. It goes in like a Leo fender at the top. It looks like a Leo fender. Everything about it, you think it's a Leo fender, but then if you pull it out, then the bottom 1/2 inch is a little tenon plate up under there. Okay, and I've never seen anybody do that, but it would guarantee that your bolt on neck went in and was as precise as your vintage guitar. Okay, a lot of good information there. I hope I didn't get over anybody's head, and I apologize for the idiocy. Let me check the time. 43 minutes. We'll talk about bridges some other time, because I don't want this to end up being a 50-minute video. Or I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause, and the odds are the camera, I'm going to cut it off at this point. So I'll say that to say this. Let me just pause the video, collect myself, but we'll just come back to end the video, because I don't want to waste time trying to rush that. Okay, yeah, I'm glad I paused, because it gave me time to kind of process through the whole reason I brought this up. The reason I brought this up is the 70s Les Paul design. They stopped carrying the tenon into the neck pickup location, which, you know, obviously, as you know, it goes up there roughly. Now this P90 template is I think it's 1 3/8 of an inch opening. So man, it was ever so close that I could have just put some masking tape up here and just jet glue that baby down. But what I can do, I can do it in 2 steps. I've got my line drawn for my 1 1/2 inch tenon, and then I just put this up in the top left corner, stop it wherever I want. I don't want to get too close to this edge. I want to leave at least about a half, and then route that location right there, and then tear this loose and move it, step it down, and then just take off that little area right there. And it'll go all the way through just like that. And you might be thinking, well, doesn't that run the risk of warping? Well, I'll make certain that I seal this with my very thin CA glue first, and then I'll monitor it. If it did warp, then it's not a big deal because it's a template. But nonetheless, that's how they were building their Les Pauls in the 70s and the early 80s. And even I think Tim Shaw had already come on board, and they were getting ready to transition back into the longer tenon, which again, you know, there's a lot of theory out there about the fact that the long tenon sounds better, it's stronger. Well, it might be stronger for the neck, but at the expense of the strength of the body. And do I have any, what would be the word, empirical evidence? Not really, other than the fact that I did own an old 70s Strat that when I bought it, it needed restoring. The guy had torn it apart. He had just sold it as a parts guitar, basically because he had panicked. He knew it was problematic. And when I got the thing, I opened up the box. I was like, oh man, some idiot tried to arch the top of that guitar, and it was not arched. It had just warped, and it was convexed on the top. Let me see. No, yeah, it was convexed on the top slightly, and it was concaved on the back. It was hilarious, and it had the real long, Leo Fender tenon. Heel pocket. Okay, so I'll end the video there. We'll talk about bridge stuff later on. Quite frankly, it's not even important because this video is extremely, extremely long. I just want to stop talking. But I did want to present some of that information to you because the next time you see the template, it'll probably have that pocket routed out. But I don't want anyone to panic and think, oh God, he's going to be building this thing like a 80s type design. No, it'll be authentic 50s with the long tip. Okay, so I'll stop the video there. I appreciate you guys dropping in, and I will see you in the next video because the wood is supposed to be here tomorrow. I may do a video tomorrow night, but otherwise I'll probably just spend some time with it and think about how I want to use it. So see you guys later. Thanks.